On today's episode of Time About the Movies, we've got a stacked show with a lot of movies for different audiences out there. For the horror movie crowd, we have the beginning of the Conjuring series with The Conjuring. We have, for the kids out there, Ryan Reynolds as a fast-moving snail in DreamWorks' animated film Turbo. We have for the old people out there, we've got the sequel to Red 2. For the people that are still looking for some action movies out there, Ryan Reynolds is in another movie along with Jeff Bridges and R.I.P.D. This was not a very good weekend for Ryan Reynolds, let's just say that. But for the indie crowd, we have Kristen Wiig and Annette Bening and Girl Most Likely. And then for the people who are looking for something on the same veins of Drive, the director and that star of that movie, Ryan Gosling, are back together again with Only God Forgives. So we'll take a look at, is that even the name of the movie? Yeah, Only God Forgives. I thought I gave you the wrong title on that one, but lots of films to get to. July 19th, 2013. This is Time About the Movies. We got a lot to cover here. Let's go.
We've been called demonologists, paranormal researchers.
They investigated the Amityville horror and the haunting in Connecticut. On July 19th, their most terrifying case.
There's a lady in a dirty nightgown that I see in my dreams.
Begins.
Look what she made me do.
The Conjuring, rated R, July 19th.
Sending those forget-me-nots. I'm sorry, I had to do that because even the people out there have made the memes about the song Forget-Me-Nots and, doing the clap and all that. I mean, come on, how can I not do that? But anyway, welcome to Time About the Movies, everybody. We have a lot of films to get to today, 6 films in particular for July 19th, 2013. So with all that said, let's get right to it. And let's start off with the biggest new release, and that is The Conjuring, which is the first film in the long-running series, which has spawned a couple of successful spin-offs. You have Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga starring as Ed and Lorraine Warren, who are paranormal investigators and authors associated with prominent cases of haunting. These are the people that are responsible for, as the trailer says, the Amityville Horror, the haunting in Connecticut. And in this movie, the Warrens come to the assistance of the Perron family, who experience incredibly increasingly disturbing events in the newly occupied farmhouse in Rhode Island in 1971. Now, this is directed by James Wan. This is coming off of his success with Insidious, who he worked with Patrick Wilson on that film as well. And, of course, he's done other classic horror movies. He did the Saw films. He's done a lot of really good films overall. And The Conjuring was one of those movies that really did come out of nowhere, because when most people looked at the trailers for the first time and saw the woman being haunted by the clap in the background, that thing there, just like everyone was looking at it, just like, wow, that was kind of, okay, that was effective, but is that really the only thing they're selling it on? But, I mean, no, that wasn't that at all, but it really did turn out to be. It's interesting because Warner Brothers around this time was trying to do the same thing that Marvel did with its cinematic universe with DC, except they were going to do it in half the time that they did, and we're going to see why that didn't turn out very well. But, they tried to put all these other cinematic universes out there, but they've had the most successful cinematic universe with the Conjuring films. I mean, think about it. All the Conjuring movies that have come out, all 4 of them. Then they've had the spin-offs with Annabelle, which didn't start off strong at first with the first film. The first film was kind of bad, but the third films were actually pretty good. And the Nun movies are surprisingly really effective too. And they work because, yeah, they're jump scare horror movies, but the jump scares are very effective overall. Like in the first movie, yeah, I'll admit, when I saw it in the movie for the first time, the clapping scene did get to me. Plus, there's a lot of scenes in these other movies, even the bad movies like Annabelle, where something will happen. It's just like, ugh, that's creepy, man. It's just like, it works. Like, these guys know what they're doing with a film like this. Plus, it also helps that you have a really good, strong bond between Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga as Ed and Lorraine Warren, and you do follow their story as they go along, and it makes for a very entertaining and very tense film overall, especially with the way the progression is with Vera Farmiga's character, who's with every movie seems to become more of a target for these ghosts that they're haunting in general here. And the film has a very cool stylistic look to it from the very beginning when the opening music comes on with the Warner Brothers New Line logo. You're suckered in. You can't wait to see how this is going to turn out at the end. And yeah, it's definitely one of the more effective horror movies I've ever seen. It was a massive hit. People bought into it, and As I said, it eventually led into one of the more successful film franchises, not just horror film franchises, but film franchises in general, in the last 12 years overall. This has been a really strong franchise with very few misfires. Like I said, the first Annabelle was kind of bad. Curse of La Llorona was also pretty bad too. With that one wasn't really selling itself as a Conjuring sequel universe film until well after the movie had come out, and they kind of tied it all together. And it's just kind of like, eh. It still doesn't make the movie all that great, though, but at least it kind of makes sense for it to be in the same world as this, but yeah, the first Conjuring movie is really good. It's one of those big surprises that even if you're not a horror fan in general, you can still find a lot of value in it overall and find a really, really good film in general with it, so take that for what you will. Thought it was pretty good. Conjuring was a pretty fun film. So with that said, it's a Ryan Reynolds double feature this week, and sadly, both of these movies he's in bombed pretty hard, but here's the one that didn't bomb so much. It's DreamWorks Animation's latest film, and that is Turbo.
Animation.
I wish I was fast.
The creators of Madagascar.
Oh no.
And How to Train Your Dragon.
What's happening to me?
On July 17th.
Oh, you got fancy magic superpowers?
Yep.
This little guy can change our lives for the better. I want to enter him in the Indy 500.
I could crush you right now.
I'm detecting a note of disapproval.
DreamWorks Turbo.
Blue, apply liberally. Detailing. Ow! Are you crazy? Ow!
Yeah, I'm crazy. What made you think I was safe?
Ow!
Rated PG.
Fun fact, Samuel L. Jackson is actually doing a reenactment of how they sold the movie to DreamWorks and how they sold it to Jeffrey Katzenberg. Yeah, they're crazy for thinking that this was going to turn out to be good, and Katzenberg was just like, you've convinced me, keep going. And also, a movie like this, where the bad guy is intimidated by a little snail the size of my hand, like the size of one of this right here, yeah, that's pretty pathetic, man. And this was one of those movies that seems like the dumbest idea possible, but sometimes a dumb idea turns out to be a really good movie. Like Dumb and Dumber, for example, is one of those things where it turns out to be a really damn good movie, a really funny film. Hell, Beavis and Butthead is just like that as well. Turbo is one of those things where you saw the trailer for it, and you can see the potential with it, you can see the ideas they have with it, but in the end, it's a movie where it really does feel like, yeah, it is what it delivers. And, you know, I usually won't buy into something like this unless it's something that my brain tells me you gotta see this for yourself. You gotta see it to prove it's actually worth something here. I mean, it's DreamWorks Animation. They hardly ever make mistakes on their films. The only big mistake they've made up to this point was Shark Tale, and that was even that's a film where I literally broke my finger watching that movie. If you haven't heard that story, go check out my thoughts on Shark Tale overall. I've done videos on this channel many times talking about it, but in this case, it was probably a good thing. But let's see about the plot first. You have a moment where... So how does the snail get these powers? Well, a freak accident happens where this snail named Turbo, played again by Ryan Reynolds, kicks into overdrive and embarks on an extraordinary journey to achieve the seemingly impossible, competing in the world's fastest race, the Indy 500. With the help of his tricked-out streetwise snail crew, this ultimate underdog puts his heart and shell on the line to prove that no dream is too big and no dreamer is too small. So yeah, you see in a little bit in the trailer there's kind of a little bit of Fast and Furious in there, and I guess what happens is that the nitrous oxide gets into Turbo's system where it gives him the powers to have this super ability to go running around and all that. Yeah, it's a movie where it's really a bizarre idea, but again, this is DreamWorks Animation. This is a company that's known for taking really bad ideas and turning them into really good movies. Kung Fu Panda is one of the great examples of that, and they've made a lot of great movies with that. Puss in Boots was another example of that, a movie that didn't sound all that promising, but they made two really good movies about that. The first one's not a classic, Puss in Boots isn't, but the sequel's definitely a lot better, but yeah, Turbo overall is one of those things where it could probably surprise, and for the most part, it's fine. I mean, there's nothing really spectacular or fun about it, like Kung Fu Panda or Puss in Boots, but it's at least better than the idea is that going forward. It's a typical underdog story. Unless you could do something new with it, like a Kung Fu Panda or something like, or How to Train Your Dragon. Turbo kind of goes for the predictable territory of it, but yeah, there's other things about it that kind of makes it stand out on its own merits. Like I said, one of the biggest things about this movie is that really I didn't like about it was the fact that Bill Hader is the bad guy in this, and he's way too serious in his villainous ways. Like, he's going all out of his way to defeat a tiny little snail just because he's faster than he is. And it's just like, when you're threatened by a small creature in general, not a snail, That's pretty pathetic. It just basically shows that you might be a small dick person because you don't like it being intimidated by anything. It's like in the Alvin and the Chipmunks movie where the Chipmunks go to school and these high school kids are threatened by little chipmunks who are getting all the babes, and it's just like, no, we got to take these guys down. It's just like, you're like 3 feet taller than them. Like, you could stomp on them if you really are that desperate to do that. And in this case, it really does feel like that. I mean, it's like, there's no way you could take anything small and make it intimidating. With the exception of Peter Dinklage. I mean, I will never say anything bad about Peter Dinklage because I know that he could probably beat me up. I mean, that's Tyrion Lannister right there. Or since it's Christmas time, that's the guy who beat the hell out of Will Ferrell for calling him an elf. But I also didn't like Ken Jeong as Kimley in here, who's like a manicurist that works in the strip mall that the main character, played by Michael Pena, works in. This character is only there to be the comic relief, and Ken Jeong just does this obnoxious voice that just gets on your goddamn nerves. I mean, this is a performance where nobody had a second thought about this whatsoever. Just like, keep going, Ken. We know that you're successful because you were in the Hangover movies. People will buy it. It's fine. And yeah, it really is not. And the music overall, yeah, you gotta talk about the infamously bad, this snail is fast. This snail is fast. It's just like, that's really the best you can come up with? Really? But, again, to its credit, there are a lot of good things about the movie. The animation overall is really good. There is a nice visual look to the film. The voice casting overall, top-notch. I thought Ryan Reynolds did a pretty good job as Turbo. Paul Giamatti plays his best friend in this. He's actually pretty good. And like I said, Samuel L. Jackson is crazy in this, but at the same time, he has the strongest laughs in the movie. I was laughing pretty hard whenever he showed up on screen. It's just like you could tell that Samuel L. Jackson just was told by the director and the producer, just go nuts. Just be Samuel L. Jackson. And just like, okay, I can do that. But they also probably told him, don't say motherfucker because this is a DreamWorks movie. It's a kid's movie. It's just like, okay, motherfucker. But you get the idea. But the biggest thing about Turbo is that it's fine for what it is. It stumbles over the predictable story, the lame brain villains, some mediocre characters that really aren't that strong. Just a random assortment of celebrity voices in here. I haven't even told you the list of people in here. Like, Snoop Dogg, Maya Rudolph, Michelle Rodriguez. They even brought in somebody from Fast and Furious for this. Luis Guzman, Richard Jenkins, Kurtwood Smith. It's just like, they stacked all these people in here, but they really do serve no purpose in here whatsoever. It's just like, hey, that's the guy doing the voice, but the Snell character and the animation do kind of save the movie from entering levels of Shark Tale as one of DreamWorks' worst animated movies, but it's one of those movies where it's definitely one that you shouldn't have rushed out to see it. If you went to a movie, if you saw it on TV, it was fine for what it is. That's pretty much how I saw it in the end. I didn't see it until it came out on DVD and Blu-ray that fall, and I didn't hate it overall. I just thought it was okay, but it's not a great movie overall. It tries to be irreverent and funny, but kind of stumbles out of the gate, so a mixed opinion on Turbo, but definitely not one of the better DreamWorks animated films. In fact, it's not even the better Ryan Reynolds DreamWorks animated film released that year. The Croods is the much better Ryan Reynolds DreamWorks animated feature released that year. Turbo, not so much. Don't worry, folks. Ryan Reynolds will be back in just a little bit with another movie that is much worse than Turbo is, but let's go ahead and take a look at our next movie, Red 2, and, an interesting story. When I was looking for the trailer that I'm about to show you here, this thing came up, and I thought to myself, what the hell is this? Because this does not look like a real trailer. And you're going to see why in just a little bit here. In fact, you're going to see it right now. This is the trailer that I saw for Red 2.
I'll be very clear. Nobody is listening to your telephone calls.
Yeah.
The people involved in America's national security take this work very seriously.
Idle hands do the devil's work.
These folks keep the American people safe.
There's a bomb headed for left. We need to stop it.
They operate like professionals.
I got this!
We're going to have to make some choices.
This one should stop it, and this one should detonate it. Wait! Stop cutting wires!
We're going to have some problems here.
Red 2, rated PG-13, July 19th.
What the fuck? Yeah, apparently the White House got involved in this because how else were they able to use that footage of Barack Obama talking to the media about something? It just feels really weird. Like, out of all the movies out there to use President Obama at that time, to sell your movie, Red 2, really? That's the movie you're trying to sell to people? Like, I mean, let's take a look at it. I mean, Red 2 is the sequel, of course, to Red, which wasn't a bad movie. It was actually not that bad overall, but the sequel did have a promising future with the majority of the same people returning, except the fact that the people were killed or passed away since that film. I mean, I guess there's that. And then you also have a director in Dean Parasot who did Galaxy Quest and Fun with Dick and Jane, which are good movies. So, I mean, it's still written by the two jackasses that wrote Battleship, and, you know, it has one of the more confusing plots ever for an action film I've ever seen. Like, you thought A Good Day to Die Hard was a mess? Get a load of this. Retired CIA agent Frank Moses, played by Bruce Willis, is in love with Sarah Ross, played by Mary Louise Parker, who is also having a really bad weekend because she's in the next movie after this, and enjoying their normal life. Out of the blue, Marvin Boggs, played by John Malkovich, meets Frank in the supermarket and tells them that WikiLeaks has released the information that has participated and known the whereabouts of the Nightshade, a portable nuclear weapon that was smuggled in places and hidden in Russia. The trio travels to Paris and teams up with the Russian Katya, played by Catherine Zeta-Jones, and tracks down the former Russian agent The Frog, played by David Thewlis, to get more information about the operation. They learn that the brilliant inventor Dr. Edward Bailey, played by Anthony Hopkins, might know where the weapon is. They discover that Bailey has been interned in an asylum in London by the MI6 for 32 years, and the British Victoria, played by Helen Mirren, joins the team. They rescue Bailey and find the nuclear devices hidden in the Kremlin. Soon the dangerous South Korean Han join the group, expecting to retrieve the weapon, but dangerous killer Jack Horton, played by Neil McDonough, is hunting Frank down and will not stop until he recovers the nuclear bomb. I mean, my God! Can you make this plot sound more confusing and complicated for your audience? The first film made the plot so simple and easy to understand. A group of retired CIA agents are brought back together to stop an evil threat. We got a movie. There you go. But, hey, they throw in some shit in there in this movie that by the end of the film, you're just sitting there going like, what the fuck are you guys doing? Like, what am I even looking at here? But nobody really talks about this movie when they talk about this movie coming out. They were more talking about how Bruce Willis was essentially giving one of the most awkward interviews by anybody you've ever seen in your entire life. And if you know that interview, you know exactly what I'm talking about here. I mean, he knew this was a bad idea. If you watch that interview, Mary Louise Parker is at least trying to answer the interviewer's questions, but Bruce Willis, like, it doesn't even seem like he's even in this overall. Like, he's acting like he's a big dick about this whole thing, but it makes no sense whatsoever why he's acting this way. I mean, really, did A Good Day to Die Hard's box office numbers really just make you want to be an asshole that day, Bruce? Honestly, I'm not even going to say anything bad about Bruce Willis, because since then, of course, his health has been such a major issue overall. He had to retire from action, so I'm being more harsh than what I'm being more harsh right now, but I shouldn't be because of his situation overall. But I'm sorry, I can't help but think to myself, what was Bruce Willis's problem during this whole thing? Maybe because he didn't even want to do this damn movie. And I don't think he was the only one. Everybody else in this movie looked like they did not want to be there at all. Catherine Zeta-Jones, who serves no purpose to the story whatsoever except to just throw herself into scenes that are similar to Ocean's 12, where Bruce Willis cameos. I mean, out of all the Ocean's films to copy, why are you going to copy the worst one in the series? Like, it doesn't help that the action sequences are shot horribly. The violence isn't even fun to watch this time around, unlike the last film. Like, we don't even get an over-the-top violent scenes moment like John Malkovich killing somebody and going like, "Old man, my ass." That was fun to listen to, but on top of that, the direction is terrible. This is again Dean Parasot, who did Galaxy Quest, which is is arguably his best movie overall. He's proven that he could be a good comedy director in the past, but he can't really do action scenes that well, despite the fact he did Galaxy Quest, which has a lot of action to it. But in here, like everybody else, it just seems like he doesn't give a shit about what he's doing here. In fact, nobody really seems like they have an idea of what they want to do while they're here. Like, nobody felt like they gave a damn about this, not even the studio, who could have made this a great action franchise. But no, they half-assed it. They did absolutely nothing to distance itself from the previous film. It's just another, here we go again storyline here with a bad piece of shit movie, a confusing as hell plot, actors who don't give a damn, writers who don't give a damn, and a director that does not give a damn at all. Red 2 is a mess of a film, plain and simple. People just not giving a damn and trying to make a quick buck, and yeah, the end result speaks for itself. So, but hey, I'll give it this. It certainly is a lot better than the next movie we have here. So, the original R.I.P.D. was directed by Robert Schwennick, who did The Time Traveler's Wife. So, if he didn't return to direct this movie, then what was he doing this weekend?
Where am I?
Officer Walker, you're dead. Tough day. Welcome to the R.I.P.D. Rest in Peace Department.
Come on, rookie. Here's the deal. Our job is catching bad souls that escaped the afterlife. Tag it, and bury it deep.
That's sick.
I don't know what else to shoot you between. There's something else. You don't look like you anymore.
What do I look like? Really? An old Chinese guy? What about you? Well, I guess you win, Roy.
If the dead take over, that's it for the living world.
I've never seen that before. I got this.
You were supposed to contain.
Didn't contain. I'm okay. Nothing to see. Gotta go.
R.I.P.D. Rated PG-13.
What the fuck was that? How did you make a movie that was even worse than Red 2 was? And yeah, this is a real movie, people. This is a movie about a dirty cop played by Ryan Reynolds, who hides gold that he stole from drug dealers with his partner Hayes in the backyard of his house. However, on the next morning, Nick tells Hayes that he will deliver the evidence to the police since he loves his wife Julia, and he could not face her acting that way. Nick and Hayes are assigned to a raid against a dangerous gang, and unexpectedly, Hayes kills Nick. Nick is drawn by a tunnel, and based on his previous experiences at the police department, he is assigned in the afterlife by the proctor to join the Rest in Peace Department that protects the living world from the undead and works with the old-fashioned agent Roy, played by Jeff Bridges. Roy and Nick accidentally find that Hayes, played by Kevin Bacon, is plotting a scheme to revert the sense of the tunnel to the afterlife and bring the apocalypse to the Earth. So it's a buddy cop movie mixed with Men in Black, and I mean, what the hell are we even doing here? I mean, this is one of the stupidest movies I have ever seen in my entire life. This is a bad movie that feels like a film that would have been made 10 years ago. Like, nobody makes this movie in 2013 knowing that it's gonna bomb. This thing was gonna bomb right from the get-go because this film has no idea what the fuck they're doing. Like, it's just like, we need a new Men in Black for the next generation. And this is based off of a book by them. This is based on a comic book of the same name is sort of similar to Men in Black in general here, by Peter Lemkoff, who, of all people, went on to do some really good stuff, like Hawaii Five-0, the reboot of Hawaii Five-0 for CBS, which is actually a pretty good show. But like, this movie just feels so badly put together. It was a flop when it came out. It made only back $78 million of its $154 million budget. You could just look at this film and just see nobody had an idea of what they were trying to do here. Just like the studio said, we need a new Men in Black for the next generation. It's just like, you're gonna do it with this. You're gonna do it with a movie with Ryan Reynolds, who seriously needs to get away from these blockbuster failures, and you're gonna have Jeff Bridges with a lisp that literally makes him sound like he's huffing paint or something like that. Not huffing paint, but it's like you can't understand what the hell he's saying. Like, the only thing that I thought was kind of cool what kind of fun about this movie was the fact that Jeff Bridges and Ryan Reynolds go back to the human world, and they say, oh, by the way, you don't look like you don't look like yourselves back when you come back here. Just like, and Ryan was just like, who do I look like then? And then you see it's him as James Hong, and then Jeff Bridges is Marissa Miller. That was a fun idea, but yeah, after the occasional one here and there that kind of makes it work, kind of one-off joke that kind of makes it work in the end, it doesn't work in the end. It's pretty fucking bad when it's all said and done, and it just didn't work at all. From the fact that they got two writers who clearly have no real indication of what they're trying to do here, and they have written some pretty bad stuff. These are the guys that wrote Aeon Flux. These are the guys that wrote the 2010 Clash of the Titans movie. They got people who wrote stuff like The Tuxedo. Like, my God. This was a bad idea from the get-go. I mean, this thing should have never gotten off the ground. And even Jeff Bridges has made the argument that it's one of his favorite roles, even though the studio completely destroyed it. Even if the studio didn't destroy it, this thing is a fucking mess all across the board. It is not funny, it's not clever, it's incredibly stupid, the action sequences are terrible, the story makes no goddamn sense. This is worse than Green Lantern, and Green Lantern is a bad movie, but this is even worse. You could at least tell with Green Lantern, they were at least trying to do something. Hell, The Lone Ranger came out 2 weeks ago. That was a flop too, but I saw what they were trying to do with it. I saw the effort being put into it. There was no effort being put into this movie, and they had the nerve and the audacity 9 years later to say, we've somewhat made a profit off of this, so you know what we're going to do? We're going to make a prequel that nobody gives a fucking shit about. Yes, they made a prequel that nobody was asking for, with a guy from Burn Notice, of all things, and Penelope Mitchell, who is from the chick from the Vampire Diaries. So yeah, that should pretty much tell you everything you need to know about how bad this is, about how nobody gave a fuck about this at all. Like, this movie is a mess, man. This is a disastrous movie. This is the type of movie that they don't make in Hollywood anymore, because people know nobody's going to see this movie. Like, ambitious blockbusters that fail, like The Lone Ranger, Pacific Rim, which wasn't a failure, but underperformed, but you get the idea. Those at least had ambition to it. There was at least something there. There's nothing in these movies whatsoever. This is a garbage film. Plain and simple. Avoid R.I.P.D. like the plague. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to some indie films now. Let's go ahead and take a look at our next movie, which is Kristen Wiig and Girl Most Likely.
Down. Your mother's going to take you home with her.
Did you just say mother? Hi, honey.
Moving back home is tough.
Why did Mom run out my room to some random guy? Ow! God, come in here!
Her mom's not making it easy.
This is my boyfriend. He's in the CIA.
George Bush.
Your name is George Bush.
Girl Most Likely is laugh out loud funny.
It's a couple little scratches.
It's a Porsche.
Sir, it's a Boxster.
Girl Most Likely.
Your mom dropped the charges.
Good luck at nationals.
Rated PG-13.
I mean, you can look at this trailer and kind of see a lot of the problems with the film in general, but this is Kristen Wiig, who stars as a playwright who stages a suicide in an attempt to win back her ex, only to wind up in the custody of her gambling-addicted mother, played by Annette Bening. You have a cast that also includes Matt Dillon, Christopher Fitzgerald, Natasha Lyonne, and Darren Criss, who... No, he was not one of the people that killed himself in Glee. I'm thinking of somebody. I'm thinking of Corey Monteith. I'm sorry, Darren Criss. Please don't get mad at me, even though you probably have never watched this channel before. But I mean, there is an idea for a movie here, but I think one of the reviews for this said it best here. Actually, it was a critical consensus on Rotten Tomatoes. Largely witless and disappointingly dull, Girl Most Likely strands the gifted Kristen Wiig in a blandly hollow foray into scattershot sitcom territory, which, yeah, this feels like a type of sitcom you would see on ABC, like the show they were trying to make the next big modern hit on the Wednesday lineup with Modern Family in the middle, and would get canceled after one season, even though sometimes those shows actually turn out to be good, like Super Fun Night or Trophy Wife, but... Some of you probably don't even know what those shows are, but that just goes to show you that how much I remember that block on ABC back in the early 2010s. But yeah, this movie kind of sucks. I mean, this is a movie where the only thing that's kind of holding it together are Kristen Wiig and Annette Bening, but there's not a good script there to really give them the oomph that they really need to elevate this to the next level here, and it just didn't work in the end. It's a movie that is really pathetic. And like I said, and like the review said, the Rotten Tomatoes thing said, it's very much a failed sitcom pilot overall. And there's nothing about it that really screams out cinema. There's nothing about it that screams like something that needs to be seen on the big screen. It's a major letdown. It's a major letdown for Kristen Wiig, who's just coming off of Saturday Night Live, and trying to move on and become the film star she would eventually become. And it just didn't work with this movie. It's a bust of a film. It's a mess overall. So, can we go ahead and turn the tide around and get back to some good stuff with our last film, Only God Forgives? Let's see. Not so much. But hey, it's at least better than Girl Most Likely, R.I.P.D, and Red 2, so there's that. Bangkok, Oriental City, because the city don't know where the city don't fit it. That's literally how the synopsis starts, and of course I have to go back to One Night in Bangkok for this, but no, in all seriousness, Bangkok, 10 years ago, Ryan Gosling, killed a man and went on the run. Now he manages a Thai boxing club that is a front for a drugs operation. Respected in the criminal underworld deep inside, he feels empty. When Julian's brother murders an underage prostitute, the police call him retired cop Chang, played by Vithalia Panswingarm. I think I'm probably pronouncing that name wrong, who is known as the Angel of Vengeance. Chang allows the father to kill his daughter's murderer, then restore order by chopping off the man's right hand. Julian's mother, Crystal, played by Dame Kristen Scott Thomas, the head of a powerful criminal operation, arrives in Bangkok to collect her son's body. She dispatches Julian to find the killers and raise hell. So yeah, this is a very odd movie overall, and like Drive was very divisive, but there was a lot more positivity to Drive than there was with this movie. This is a film that is very much a polarizing film that really just kind of feels... It's visually impressive to look at, but at the same time, the story makes no goddamn sense whatsoever. I mean, Drive had the visual edge to it, a story that you could follow, a character you wanted to get behind, and some really cool action overall here. But this sadly doesn't have that here. And Nicholas Winding Refn, it really did feel like he was trying to make his own David Lynch movie. And, you know, this is a movie where David Lynch would probably be looking at us and going like, you're stepping into your boundaries a little too much here, buddy. This really doesn't feel like the best stuff that this director can really give us in general here. And Drive really did seem like a once-in-a-lifetime thing with what he with at the peak of his creativity overall. Because, yeah, everything after this has not been that great. This is not a good movie. Neither is his next two films, the Neon... Well, his next film, at least. We haven't seen the latest film, Her Private Hell, but Neon Demon was not great either. But despite all that, I'll give Ryan Gosling credit. He does deliver a solid performance overall here that really does carry the film to some way, shape, or form of credibility to it. But other than that, though, that's about it with this film in general here. There's nothing about it that makes it stand out like Drive does. I think more people remember Drive as a really good movie, and it just didn't work with this film in general here. It just kind of falls apart in the scripting department, and just the fact that the script is all over the goddamn place and just doesn't work overall. It's a mess. It's a mess of a film that sadly does not work, so yeah. Just watch Drive in general. That's the one you should really be watching over again. But this, no. Just stay away from Only God Forgives, sadly. So there you go. That's my thoughts on that film. And thus, with all that said, we wrap up another episode of Time About the Movies. We'll take a look at 3 films next time around, including The Wolverine, The To-Do List, and Blue Jasmine. So with all that said, thank you so much for watching this. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe button, notification button. Check out our playlist, and check out the previous episode we did. Whether it's in the past, the present, or the future, I will see you at the movies. Take care.